All right, what's up, you guys? Today is January 26th. I'm wearing the exact same sweater I think I wore in the past two videos, so let's keep this trend rolling. We're talking about the recent class changes that took place today, the day I'm recording this video. They were posted on MMO Champ. I'll show it here on the screen, and you can also find a link to that in the description box below. They were PvP-focused changes addressing some of the concerns that the community had on several classes: Prot Paladins, Ret Paladins, Fire Mages, and Holy Paladins, the entire Paladin class, I should say. There were some changes that were left out of that that we'll talk about. We'll talk about whether they were too large or too small. I want to address that topic, and more importantly, some of the things that I think could have been included in the blue post that would have been very helpful and that require minor effort and I think would go a long way. So recently on Twitter, I had some guy getting very upset with me, saying that I'm fanboying Blizzard and celebrating the fact that they did changes. And it's ironic because I've been pretty harsh in terms of their frequency and balancing and how long it takes to see changes in World of Warcraft, and I've done several videos about that, but I can also celebrate good change, and I'll talk about why I think it is good change. In my videos, I said that these changes are very good. Some things were left out, some things could be adjusted, there could be some more changes, there could be more buffs in there, but ultimately I was happy to see them because they were minor. Right? They were small changes, and what I've been advocating for a very long time, for several months now, and also my community's been supporting this idea, is that we want small, frequent changes. Again, World of Warcraft balancing is something that's very delicate. It's not another game where you can just switch around. This is your main character, and if somebody's getting used to Word of Glory healing for a certain amount, and then you nerf it by 70% overnight, they log in, their class feels horrible compared to what it used to feel like, even though that was per se balanced or the right approach. It's not going to feel good. And if you look at Raider.io, if you look at any of the statistics that are public, Mythic Plus participation isn't that high. If you look at rating participation, it isn't as high, but Shadowlands retention, especially according to Preach in one of his videos, is very high. So we're all of those players. Well, you can bet your butt they're not in the Maw or in Torghast, right? They're all in PvP, and you can see that by the numbers, the number of groups that are available for RBGs and Arena. There's so many people playing and participating in PvP because of the gearing system, right? It's deterministic. People enjoy that. They enjoy knowing that they spend this amount of time, they might get this item, and it's fun, right? It's enjoyable. And I'm sure Blizzard doesn't want to just butcher somebody's class, because if they do, they're probably not going to play much longer. You invested a lot of time farming a legendary, etc. It's not going to feel good, right? Now, I did test some of the changes. There was changes to Word of Glory for protection and ret, 20%. Doesn't really address the major issue with healing hands, although that talent in particular has already been nerfed. It is an approach to changing how much healing throughput Retribution Paladins and Prot Paladins have, but there are other issues that are problematic, certain legendaries like the protection legendary for ret, etc., right? But it is an adjustment, and it does feel decent outside of wings, because their consistent healing is definitely lower. I did also enjoy the dampening change, where now if you have two healers on opposite teams, or you have a tank and a healer, dampening kicks in at 20% like it should have, or like it did originally, and games are going much faster, and it's much more enjoyable gameplay in 2v2 Arena. The Triune Ward nerf actually feels very good. It's not massive. Triune Ward is still probably the best legendary, but hey, they don't have these 24,000 absorb shields anymore. It's like 15k, feels much more manageable. And I can actually start to deal damage to Fire Mages, and they don't feel as invulnerable as they did before. These are all good things, but they're not too massive. Now, the only issue is, and what I said in the video as well, is that if these are the only changes they're planning on doing, then it's not good, right? I can celebrate the idea that they're doing small tunings, but they have to be frequent, right? If these are the only changes Blizzard has planned, then it's not good, because you can't just do these small tunings and disappear for 4 months, small tunings disappear for 4 months, because there's some things that are left out, right? Certain classes that people were complaining about, Warrior Intervene being maybe too strong to a lot of players, or maybe Windwalker damage as an example. There are other examples I don't want to pinpoint because people get very upset. These are community things that I hear, right? Just using an example. That was left out. Also, there was buffs that were left out, right? As I mentioned, Mystery Verdict, they're not doing very well, and it's very clear if you look at the statistics on Arena Mate as an example, very low participation, very clear that they need help, and there's no buffs there. But if they're frequent, then we know that buffs might happen soon, right? So the frequency is important here. The changes are good. We don't need meta-defining nerfs every 3-4 months. That's not any fun. I think if you want to maintain player interest, people that have one of these classes that they selected just at the start and it's very, very strong. You want to maintain their interest. You do slow tunings, right? Slow tunings to bring down some of the overperforming classes and slow tunings to bring up some of the underperforming classes till you find a happy medium, right? Frequent small changes is the key thing here. And if you agree with this, please comment down below or share this topic. Okay, a lot of you guys feel like you're not being heard, and I understand that. We're going to get into that. When the vendors were an issue, everyone was vocal about it, and that's why we got the change. I don't want you guys believing that what you say or share on the internet isn't important. It really is. It's not just me making the videos, you watching and liking it, which I do appreciate, and it does help share the video. Go out there and say something. You write something in the comments, it's a full paragraph, put it on the forums. If everyone did that, we get a big reaction. I promise you that. Now, what I also want to talk about is the lack of communication on the blue post. And this is a big topic for me, and one of the main things that I want to talk about here. So one of the major issues that I had with the blue post, although again, I can celebrate it, was that there's a lack of communication in regards to the thought process behind the changes. A lot of people say, oh, it's just Blizzard balancing, don't expect much. But if you look at Heroes of the Storm, a game that I would argue is much less popular than World of Warcraft and probably much less popular than World of Warcraft Arena, they write giant little paragraphs every time they make changes regarding certain champions or characters, why they made the changes, the goal of the changes, what they're aiming to accomplish. And they do that for each person, each character. They have this huge paragraph for each one. You should let people know why we're making X, Y, or Z change, why we're nerfing Triune Ward by 5, 10, 15%, why we're nerfing Infernal Cascade, what we're aiming to do by making these changes, because then it can clear up some of the misconceptions. You can explain why you decided to nerf Word of Glory by 20%. You can specify your intentions, and you can also let people know if you're planning to do any buffs in the future or if there's going to be more changes in the future. If you look at some of the hot fixes, I made some videos saying that you're doing all of these changes were the PvP ones. You had 3 hot fixes that came out, and on there, on each one of them, you could have said PvP changes coming soon. Nobody knew that PvP changes were happening, and when they came out, it was kind of like a little treat. We're all celebrating, which I understand because it is exciting, but it's nice to let people know what's in store, what's in plan. If you're the Mistweaver, if you're the Affliction Warlock, if you're whatever class, again, these are just examples. It's nice to know that, buffs might be coming along shortly here. And if you don't have anything planned, that's a different case, but you were obviously planning to do these PvP changes. Why wasn't that communicated? Now, I want to look at another game that does this, and that's League of Legends. Recently, I put out a Twitter post saying that, look how Riot handles their balancing changes. They promised changes, saying that, I'll show it here on the screen, here are the promised changes to ensure that the game is in a good place before the winter break. Happy holidays. We didn't get any clarification that you'd be gone for the holidays. And again, I know there's this issue or fear about over-promising or delivering on community expectations. You don't want to make changes and say, hey, you promised me this and we didn't get that. But saying nothing is way worse. There has to be a better line of communication. I also want to talk about the idea that I know there's this divide between the development team or those working at Blizzard and the community. And I'm sure that some people at Blizzard probably feel a little burned or slighted. Maybe they feel the community is hard to engage with. Some of them are a little bit harsh, but there's also a massive, massive portion of the community, and I would argue a larger portion of the community, that is very understanding, that have been supporting Blizzard products and Blizzard games for quite some time, and they're patient. They've been playing World of Warcraft for a long time, and I don't think we should have this fear of communicating with the community. It needs to be a two-way street. I would say that you either need to find someone to be a middleman, and maybe that's the community manager's role. Maybe we need to look at what can be done there, if they need more resources, more time, more people in charge of that, someone specific in terms of balancing, or the developers themselves need to have a policy that allows them to be a little bit more vocal. And even then, if none of that is going to happen, at least when you do communicate, specify your intentions within the blue post. What you're planning to do, why you're making these changes, why we nerfed this class, and this class, and when you plan to do more, right? There needs to be a frequency, small frequent changes, and there needs to be better communication. And I don't think this is shooting for the moon. This isn't a lot to ask for. You're literally writing up some paragraphs. I know it might be time consuming, but it's not like we're asking you to invest, tons and tons of resources into this. The person that's already in charge of this should be, again, I'm not being harsh, should be clarifying why they're making changes and when they expect to do future changes, etc. Again, I don't want people to look at me like, oh, I'm being too harsh. If there was something wrong with my iPhone, I would say it, right? I don't feel bad. I'm a consumer, a customer, a big supporter of the game. I make content for the game. I advertise the game. If there's something wrong with my iPhone, I don't, as long as I'm being respectful, I don't feel bad if I'm complaining about something wrong with my iPhone, right? I don't feel bad for Apple. I'm a customer. I'm purchasing and paying for the product. We all are. So we have to be respectful, but let them know when things are, hey, this doesn't make any sense. This should be clarified. Or when do you plan to do more changes? There shouldn't be this disconnect, because that business wouldn't do very well, right? That business, if they weren't responding to any customer complaints or just, there was this division between our communication and what they're hearing, that business wouldn't do well, right? Customer satisfaction, communication is a very, very important thing. And I think in this game, especially when it comes to how much time you invest in your classes, is very, very important. Now, again, if you guys agree with this stuff, please go out and just share the video. If you're going to comment below and it's why you're upset at the game, put that on the forums in a respectful way. You're already writing that paragraph, copy pasta that thing and put it on the forums. Share it on Twitter. I don't think this is too much to ask for. I think the community needs to speak up a bit more. What am I to say? Who am I to say? But I feel like a lot of people know what I'm talking about. And if these are the only changes we're going to see, we got to say something about it. So we'll give it a couple weeks, see what Blizzard plans to do. But the communication thing needs to really be pushed. And I expect more of people in the community to talk about this. It's just, again, it's the word the word that comes to mind. It's a little unacceptable. So hopefully you guys liked the video. Hopefully you liked what I had to share. Ultimately, I think the changes were good, but I like to see more frequent changes to address some of the other things that are wrong in the game. And yeah, thanks for watching my video as always. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.